Welcome back. You're watching Newslink on eNCA. Jagersfontein residents are still picking up the pieces after a deadly dam burst. Now, hundreds of families have been displaced after their homes were destroyed by thousands of litres of sludge. At least 3 people were killed, and there are concerns more bodies may still be found. For an update on the humanitarian situation, Givers Dr Imtiaz Sooliman joins us now to just discuss the updates on the area. A very good morning to you, Doctor, and thanks for joining us this morning. I mean, we've all seen the horrible visuals of homes, infrastructure, and the livelihoods that have been completely decimated by that dam burst. A few weeks on now, what is the very latest in terms of some reprieve being provided to community members?
Good morning, Fibre. To me, the most pressing situation is the fact that people who have been displaced don't have homes yet. They've been living in the hotels in Bloemfontein. They've been living in community halls inside Jagersfontein, and some of them sharing homes with family and friends. That's the one problem, but there's certain uncertainty, and they keep calling back and say they can't live like this. Many people have moved away from the hotels and came back to Jagersfontein, and I heard something very upsetting today. All the children from grade R to grade 10 and 11 stayed over in boarding schools at the schools in Jagersfontein, and the adults were sent away to the hotels. So the parents have had no contact with their children and have been separated from them for some time now, and there's no communication. This was told to us by the government departments just this morning. So to me, this is totally unacceptable. You cannot separate children from their parents for such a long period of time. There has to be some alternatives. And they say now the ones coming from the hotels from Bloemfontein are coming back on Monday. That's the last day they will be staying there. But they're coming back to an uncertain future. There is no way for them to stay. There's no rooms to rent anywhere inside Jagersfontein. There's no place, there's no boarding establishment, nothing. And there's no guest houses. It's all used up. And so we're getting calls from those families to say, is there any way temporary housing could be made available? They can't build where they were before. As your pictures are showing in the background, there's sludge there, it's toxic. You can't build on those places. And in fact, maybe the entire community have to be moved out from there. Whilst we were there, the sand, when the wind was blowing, the dust from the toxic items that came on your face and your eyes irritated the eyes and irritated the skin. And for a long-term issue, that's going to be a major problem. So in short, people need homes. They need certainty. The farmers have been affected. More than almost 900 cattle have been, sheep and cattle have been washed away. The animals can't feed in the river. It's toxic, plus there's sludge. They get stuck in the sludge. The farmers' fences have been broken down. Their water pumps have been destroyed. 25 farmers have been affected. And people are now calling for food again. They've asked us again. They need another round of food. And school kids need uniforms and stationery. That's where we stand at the moment.
Are there any reasons that have been given by local government authorities as to why the process of starting to build structures or homes for people in a different area hasn't even begun, even though they're supposed to be coming back from hotels from next week, Doc?
I think the problem is who takes responsibility? Is this the government responsibility or is the mining responsibility? And one other thing, talking about mining responsibility, I mean, I drove through that area, and then there's millions and millions of carats of diamonds that came out of that mine, but you don't see it fed back into the community. You don't see development in the area. And I think that's a very unfair kind of system where big corporates make money from small towns, but the money is not plowed back into the area itself, especially after COVID, when we had so much of job losses and no development, and the country is struggling. We need, this is an aside issue, we need to relook at, what kind of rules are given out there when you draw things from the earth. Why is it not put back? To my understanding is the mining company should have said, you know what, people have lost their homes because our wall fell down. They didn't drop the wall down deliberately. Yes, we know that it's an accident. But the fact that it's an accident and it's their wall, something has to be done. You can't leave people displaced like this, separated from their children, uncertainty, not knowing where they're going to stay, not knowing how they're going to live. There's no family life. There's no social construct. It's all separate. It causes emotional and psychological problems. It's major issues, and it requires speed. To answer your question, I think government is grappling which tier of government should be doing this. Should it be national, provincial, or municipal, or should the mining company be involved? And this is a disaster. There's 3 things that our country is very slow in. Urgency, emergency, and disaster is 3 words lots of people don't understand in our country.
No, absolutely. And in the meantime, Doc, we can't wait for government to do something because people's lives continue to be compromised. In terms of immediate necessities, you mentioned that people are now calling for food and water. Gift of the givers, in terms of the resources that you have, surely it won't be sustainable for you to be giving those basic necessities. And there has to be a call to action from other players within the country to assist while we wait for some kind of authoritarian action to happen. I mean that in the sense of a government or the responsible mining company.
Well, fortunately, we've been supported by quite a few people. We've rolled out over 1,000 food parcels, blankets, hygiene packs, and bottled water to many, many people repeatedly. Fortunately, the electricity is back, in quite a few of the areas, and water is back in quite a few of the areas. The roads are being cleaned. That's a plus sign. Let's give them the positives where it's being done. Roads are being cleaned out. In terms of the farm, we've done a lot for the farmers. We've brought in lots of JoJo tanks, the big ones that store water for adults for humans to drink, and the other one, there are troughs to feed the water to the sheep and to the cattle, because they now can't go to the river, as I mentioned earlier, because of the sludge and the toxic waste. And thanks to the other farmers nearby who haven't been affected, making water available to these other farmers who have been affected. Farmers still need support. Yes, financial support is required to help them with their fences. Because remember, there was another tragedy before this tragedy. A year or two ago, there was a huge fire in that area where a lot of farmers lost their grazing land and lost their animals. So this is a major disaster, I think, in less than 2 years, that has affected catch-strapped farmers in that area, which makes it a huge impact on them economically and in terms of jobs, job creation. So they need support. And the other thing we're looking at, depending on the type of soil and the underground water content, if it's not, full of toxic material, we need to put boreholes there. There is a request for boreholes. We're looking into boreholes into the area, but we have to be sure of the content of the ground and the soil and the water in the ground to test it first to see if that's viable and will not cause damage. And then and people are looking for temporary shelter. That's the responsibility of not temporary, permanent. Housing should be the responsibility of the mining company. In the meantime, if that's going to take long, they should put up something temporary so people could at least have their privacy and be together with their families.
Finally, Doc, what about medical resources? You did mention that the dust causes skin irritation, hurts the eyes in some instances. Are there enough resources to treat those medically who may need it because of being affected by the sludge?
The Diamond Hospital is excellent. I've been there. It's a government hospital, but they've been really good there. And we met the district manager in charge, who doesn't want to control that hospital, but several other hospitals. We saw very committed staff that were there trying to help. They said, look, in terms of their budget, in terms of support, they do have supplies. The only thing they ran out of in that first week was food, because they now had about 70 or 80 patients extra. I mean, it just shows, hospitals don't have that kind of reserve. There are only 80 extra patients and they ran out of food. And so we supported them with enough food to compensate for the 80 patients who came, and enough food to supply them for the whole month. Then we said, if they need anything else, whether it be medical supplies or food or in London or anything else, we will greatly support them with no issue. There was one other important matter. 11 nurses that work in that hospital lost their homes and everything. They had no clothes, no uniform, not groceries. So it means that 11 staff couldn't come to work, which impacted on the health services of a small hospital. And 11 staff is a lot for a small hospital, but simply because of the crisis, they just couldn't come to work. They now need uniforms, they need scrubs, they need other items which we look at providing for them so they can go back to work. But so that's the one mix. There's a staff issue there. But secondly, if there's a food issue, that's fine. We can supply that. Medical supplies that they need, it's fine. And as an aside, government always gets bad press. And I must say today that the Social Development Department in Bloemfontein was absolutely brilliant. Those are true examples of what government servants should be like. They carried the food parcels. They carried the water in the heat. They walked from place to place. They sorted out the lists. They made the registers. They visited the people. They put them in a lines. There was order. There was system. If the government can work like how the social development people have worked in Free State, there's a lot of hope for the future of this country.